Hey everyone, it's T. So Bridgerton. Love it or hate it, I feel like it takes pride in its visuals. I was watching the second season and just thinking to myself, like, this is truly just a show that is doing it for the aesthetic. And this may or may not be a hot take, but like, I personally love a good anachronism. I love it when a director or a showrunner sees something and says, let's make it a little bit more sparkly. So I wanted to talk about some purposeful anachronisms in media, starting with Bridgerton, of course. It feels like every costume YouTuber has, costumer YouTuber, historical fashion YouTuber, has weighed in their 2 cents on Bridgerton and its many inaccuracies. You know, the fabric is wrong, some of the silhouettes, the hair, the sizing, you know, etc., etc. And yet I couldn't help but really like it, especially in the second season. Like, hear me out. I've never actually read the books, but the show itself spins like a fantasy story to me. There might not be like unicorns and magic and all that kind of stuff, but it really spins like this is not supposed to be historical at all, and it's not even supposed to be based in reality, based on, I don't know, all of it. I don't know. It's something about the colors, or maybe the use of like lots of sparkles and sequins and stuff. Some of the visuals as far as the set design, certainly the music that it's like classical renditions of pop songs, which gives it a more fantastical feel. And you know, if you're going to go that far with it, why not make the most gaudy interpretations of traditional styles of dress? They do it a lot in other kinds of fantasy, maybe sci-fi shows and movies that take inspiration from certain time periods or certain cultures. You know, putting stars on a bodice, putting mesh over a thing that's supposed to be cotton and it's also kind of showing some cleavage. There's a certain outfit that Kate wears with like a top hat. I feel like women might have worn that, but also like it just makes it so that it's so like kind of over the top. You know, these kinds of color choices and fabric choices are less associated with like certain renditions of Pride and Prejudice and Emma, and more with like Disney Channel shows. But it works. It works for the tone of the show. It's playful, it's flirty, it's sometimes a little ridiculous. They literally just put a shirt made of tissue paper on this man. Like, come on. And I could definitely see the critiques. A lot of the costumes, especially in the first season, looked fairly like Shein-esque. Very Forever 21 meets Regency or whatever. But, you know, budget issues. I feel like they did a lot better with like the fabric choices and the details and especially the fit in the second season than they did in the first season. One thing that I'd love to focus on is the silhouette of Lady Featherington. She's the only character that is dressed like this. And frankly, whenever she comes on screen, I find it extremely distracting. I'm not even like a historical buff, but she's just like, she is there. I believe that the silhouette is more along the lines of like, I don't know, 50s-ish. You know, it's very slim, it's body hugging, it's, there's that, the thing, the neckline. It's a lot. And like including that kind of detail for a character is very like purposeful, on the nose, like, yes, we know what we're doing here. We know that this is wrong and we're doing it anyway. But I think it works with the characterization of Lady Featherington. She's a very off-putting, you know, morally gray character. One of the only ones that we see. And it makes sense to give her something that's slightly more like sharp and less soft, I guess you could say, especially in comparison to like Lady Bridgerton, the mother Bridgerton. You know, it's things like that that make it very obvious that it's purposeful, and we accidentally put stars all over this woman's bodice. There are things that are anachronisms because of common misconceptions, like making the cast wear corsets instead of stays, that kind of thing. But like, you know, I'm not necessarily talking about that. And you know, I generally like when these things are purposeful. One of the main films that comes to mind when I think about like a purposeful anachronism is It Follows. It is one of my favorite horror movies. I did a paper on it in college, so this is slightly cheating because I've already talked about this at length, but we'll pare it down for the video. And don't worry, I won't show any scary things, and I also won't show any spoilers. I'm mostly talking about the aesthetics of the film. But if you like horror movies, it's a recommendation. Yeah, a lot of the production design and costuming that we see within the film make it so that you can't actually place it in a specific time period. The interior of the main character's house is a very 70s, 80s kind of interior. They're watching black and white films on a 90s TV in a 70s living room. The car that one of the main characters drives is from the 1970s. The e-reader, the famous clamshell e-reader, that hasn't even been invented yet. I want it. There's this mid-century modern furniture, and the TV that the main character has in her room is more along the lines of a 50s, 60s TV. Some of the costumes, one of the moms, I think, is dressed like she's from the 80s. A lot of the kids are dressed like they're from the 2000s. I don't even really know what this guy is supposed to be dressed as. There's no cell phones. I believe that they only use corded phones. Nothing feels like it belongs in any place and time. I love that. I love it so much. There's really a dreamlike quality to the film that adds to the overall tone, I think. In a dream, everything is kind of mixed up and you can't really place one thing or another in any space and time because it's all just coming out of every piece of your subconscious. And I also think that putting all of these things from different time periods together into one kind of plot and setting really tie in with the overall metaphor of the movie, which I won't talk about at length, but it makes it seem the events and the message behind this movie can happen to anyone at any time, have been happening, will continue to happen, that kind of thing. The whole thing is cyclical. And honestly, all of these things have probably been talked about at length in different articles and things like that. I don't care. I wanted to talk about it. So I could end it here, but I did want to add some honorable mentions. The Incredibles. I'm not doing a deep dive on this, mostly because I don't want the mouse to come after me. But it's largely set in kind of a 50s, 60s-esque world, while also having technology that is, I don't know, the year 2100. So there's that. The costumes in Little Women, I was not a huge fan personally, but I can see why they were used. They added a good amount of children's fairy tale, storybook-esque-ness. Went along with the overall tone. I could definitely see how the director could be like, oh yes, this is art. So, there's that. I respect people doing things for their art as long as they're not hurting anyone. It also gives me vibes of those 2000s female friendship movies, I don't know, Sleepover kind of. I don't know. Let me know if you know what I'm talking about, because it's weird. To say that Little Women reminds me of Sleepover, but it does. But yes, in the interest of time, I will end it here. But yeah, let me know. I actually wanted to add one more movie in this just to make it a trilogy. But like I said, let me know what kind of movies you like that kind of have purposeful anachronisms in them. Maybe not purposeful ones. Those are always fun too. I know this thing did not exist then. And it's always fun to feel like you're smarter than other people. So yeah, let me know in the comments below, and thanks for watching.